Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Modern Market, where every day we discuss all things to do with the modern market. That is the crypto market, the NFT market, and how to hopefully make some money as the market is going back up. Loaded up for discussion today. We have Bitcoin recovering to 86K from last week's low of 81. Relentless selling last week. There has been a bit of a bounce. Bit of uncertainty here about where we go next. We'll share our thoughts and some analysis today. We've got Monad TGE today after their oversubscribed raise at 2.5 billion FDV, which raised $269 million. So we'll look at that and try to anticipate some of the things that might happen, see what we might be able to get up to on Monad today. And then finally, Hyperliquid announces that growth mode has been enabled by Trade XYZ, reducing their fees by 90% to trade equity perps. Brad will touch on what we have to be interested in there. We've also got the latest on price action on crypto and NFTs, plus a general market discussion as usual. So stay tuned for that. I have got Legendary and Brad in the co-host seat with me today. We're ready to get into it. But just a reminder, friends, before we do, nothing that we say here is financial advice. The market is very, very risky. We do not know anything for sure. So please do proceed with caution and exercise your own judgment. With that out of the way, Bread Guy, it's Monday, it's 24th of November. You're joining the show from not 4 a.m. in the morning, so I thought I was going to throw it straight to you today.
Yeah, that's me. 3 p.m. where I'm at. I'm a little east of you guys, so it's even a little later in the day. Things are
You
good.
get no grace waking up time in this morning chit chat anymore. Usually I give you a couple minutes, make sure you're awake. Not anymore.
I'm spry. I'm up. My day is going. Although the sleep is still a little fudged from the time zones, and just man, there's just no good time zone for crypto because like if you're unless I guess maybe you're just like strictly in New York or maybe even Europe, I would say qualifies, but just like 24/7 markets, man. Can't go to sleep, can't wake up because like stuff's always happening. But things are good. I didn't really do any trading or anything over the weekend. As you guys know, I'm at an on-site, so things are hectic. I'm a little distracted. We're focusing on mainnet launching ASAP, and then we have our activation tomorrow. So if you guys got your USDC on Ethereum mainnet, you can deposit and start earning towards your mega airdrop.
Exciting.
I guess I wouldn't call it an airdrop, but the mega rewards
program. Yes. Yeah. Okay. So well, that's included in the snapshot today. I'm going to give you a chance to maybe expand on that. I believe you've got some more info dropping a little bit later. So definitely want to find out more. I was doing a little bit of number crunching myself, Brad, over the weekend. I sat down with a pen and paper, as to Legendary's dismay, probably because he's seen me with my pen and paper calculations before. And I was just scribbling down some numbers, some FDV, I looked at the MegaETH pie chart, look at the allocations, and yeah, I was playing around. I was with my pen and paper, Ledge. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, you do like your pen and paper. I think I find it always interesting when I'm going to a meeting and someone is like, oh, I'm bringing a pen and paper. Let's do brainstorming using pen and paper. I don't know. I don't handwrite at all. I don't know
do you still know how to what would it look like? Do you think your handwriting is deteriorating?
No, I have actually a nice handwriting because I got bullied in school. So I was like 12 years old and I was sitting next to a girl in school and she had a beautiful handwriting and I'm left-handed and she broke her right hand. So she had to write with her left hand and she was right-handed. And my German teacher, he was like, dude, she has a more beautiful handwriting, even like with her left hand than you with your left hand. And then I started like copying her handwriting to stop the bullying. And ever since I have like a very quote unquote girly handwriting, which I kept, but I just don't handwrite at all.
Dude,
I think it depends on the type of person you are.
Sounds like you took one comment very personally from one teacher. That doesn't sound like bullying. Just like your teacher said one thing and you just decided, right, I need to be the best handwriter in the world now. I don't think that's bullying.
I mean, that's just childhood though, right? I mean, we all have those like memories that like are locked in our head forever that probably are more formative than we would like to admit.
Yeah.
I know I got a few.
Someone spited you in one way and then it's like the whole world. Yeah. Interesting. Okay. Well, maybe we'll touch into some of those calculations a little bit later, or maybe tomorrow, because tomorrow is the day it goes live. I don't know. Let's wait for Mega to drop and Bread to speak about it in a little bit. So we'll touch on that in a sec. Apart from that, Ledge, how was your weekend? How are things moving into a new week? Prices a little bit better. How are you feeling?
Yeah, prices do look a little bit better. I don't trust that recovery, to be honest, but I'm feeling great, and I don't mind the price action. I do hope to have some sort of an eventful week. I don't know who it was in the Telegram channel who all they wished for was just to have a quiet and boring week. I'm like, nah, I don't think we're gonna get this. I don't think this is the time to have boring weeks. I think it's gonna be exciting. I think it's gonna be fun and volatile.
I think we go boring this week, maybe boring or down. I don't know. Let's see. We're going to discuss all of this in a bit more. Ledger will take us through some of the data points he's looking at. But one thing I would say before we get there, gosh, it's been hard to call recently. Very, very hard to extrapolate what's going on, and I think the timeline is more fragmented than I've ever seen before. So we'll get into our own thoughts in the first segment on that in just a little bit. Before we get to the main headlines today, get to the roundup to take you through everything that you need to know. Just want to shout out our partners for today, Tria. This show is sponsored by Tria, the self-custodial neobank building the future of payments for both humans and AI. Tria unifies spend, trade, and earn across all chains, giving you one powerful platform to manage your assets securely without ever giving up control. With up to 6% cashback on your Tria Visa card, you're rewarded every time you spend. And Legendary is an avid user of the card, making all kinds of purchases. He's got more info to share in just a little bit as well on that. So shout out to Tria for partnering with us today. We've got some more info on a new initiative they are running. Ledge will share more on that in a bit. But let's get into it today to get you up to speed with everything that you need to know. Starting with the price action, as always, Bitcoin is down just a touch, 86K. ETH is down just a touch, also just under 2.8 at the moment. XRP is flat, BNB is flat, Solana is flat. Hyperliquid, where are we? Hyperliquid has disappeared from my chart for the moment. Here we go, minus 1% to $31, down 20% on the week. So Hype's been hit pretty hard in the last week. Obviously, everything's been hit relatively hard in the last 7 days. Hype a little bit more so, as there's maybe that additional conversation around unlocks and what is the team going to do with their tokens. I don't think there's any specific conclusion there, just a little bit of uncertainty at a minimum. Getting into the meme coin side of things, we have Doge flat at around 14 cents. Pepe is flat as well. Trump is down 2%. Pengu's down 1%. SPX is up a couple of percent. WIF is flat. Not a ton of movement on this side. Tibber, which is one of the tokens that's been doing much better recently, is actually down 14% and down 40% on the week. So although it had been doing well up until recently, it's fallen harder because it had done well. So a lot of these gains being given up, but mostly kind of consolidating here, at least for a little bit. Obviously, last week was very, very volatile to the downside. Getting into the snapshot itself, these are the headlines we will be discussing today. We've got Bitcoin recovering to 86K from last week's low of around 81. We've got the Monad TGE today after their oversubscribed raised at 2.5 bill FDV, which raised $269 million. Colossal raise. So we'll dive into some of the details, what you need to know, some interesting things that you can get up to over there, and what our predictions might be. We'll look at the pre-market as well to see where we're at. And then finally, Hyperliquid announces the growth mode has been enabled by Trade XYZ, reducing their fees by 90% to trade equity perps. Equity perps is always on our minds at the moment. Some notable sales on the NFT side. CryptoPunk hoodie sold for 110 ETH. So on the premium CryptoPunk side, that's not too bad at all. This is clearly one of the better ones, though. And look, in terms of the other NFTs, Pudgies are flat around 5.3 ETH, Bored Apes flat around 5.9, Moonbirds at 1.84. Probably nothing more to pick out there. I would note Chimpers are flat today, but up 30% on the week, because that Chimpster token has been performing way better than all the other NFT strategy tokens. And so that's one of the NFTs that's been doing pretty awesome. In fact, I'll shout out Good Vibes Club as well here, up 30%. Quirky is also up 40% on the week. Good Vibes Club also up 30% on the week, who also have a token. Quirkies, I'm not so sure. But it does look like this strategy token, when you don't have a native token, has become kind of interesting if it gets embraced by the collection itself. Getting into the rest of the roundup to get you up to speed, we've got Solana announcing that they will list Monad's token for trading simultaneously as it goes live on major exchanges. So you'll be able to trade Mon on Solana if you want to today. You got Tom Lee's Bitmine offering annual dividends of $0.01 per share. MegaETH pre-deposit campaign will go live tomorrow. There's a $250 million cap, but no cap for depositors. So Brad will maybe give us what he can on that information in a moment. Liminal announces tokenized delta neutral strategies, turning hype native yield into DeFi ready building blocks. That's kind of cool. Always been a fan of Liminal. I've enjoyed the protocol. Now you get these tokenized delta neutral strategies. Cardano founder involves the FBI after developer splits the chain in two by exploiting a bug in the node software. Pretty wild stuff for one of the biggest chains around. Main DEX on base Aerodrome has a front-end compromise. Hope that works out okay for people. And if you involved, just make sure that you're all right there. Strike CEO Jack Mallers reveals JP Morgan closed his bank account citing concerning activity. Coinbase has acquired Tensor's team Vector.fun trading app to trade all tokens. That happened at the back end of last week after the show on Friday. Pudgy Penguins announces a partnership with globally renowned collectible toy Bearbrick. And then finally, Ethereum Dev Connect announces the next DevCon will be in Mumbai, India. Interesting selection after a very successful one in Argentina, I believe, that was just last week or two. That's the Web3 Roundup to get you up to speed with everything that you need to know in the space in the last 24 hours over the weekend or something like that. Legendary, coming to you first here. What is catching your attention before we get into the main stuff today? We're going to talk Monad. We're going to talk Bitcoin recovery. We're going to talk Hyperliquid. But aside from that, what's on your mind?
So I like the Liminal, the tokenized delta neutral strategies. I think it's been a couple of months since they first mentioned them, and we've been waiting for them to come to market. Because basically the idea with Liminal is you put up a delta neutral position, you go long on spot, you go short on perps, you have a delta neutral position as a result of that, or and earning yield on it, and you can't put it to work on top of that, or you couldn't have done that. But if they just tokenize that, that means that you can have this delta neutral position wrapped in its own token, and then you theoretically would be able to borrow against that and to start some extra looping going on, add some extra leverage if you wanted to, which I definitely would not want to in this market. But you can get creative with that. You can at least conservatively borrow stables against that and not redeploy them to loop. So I like that. Probably less excited about it now in this market environment than I was when they announced it a couple months ago. Still will play around with it, but that was the main thing standing out to me. The other thing I quickly wanted to touch on, and I'm also curious to hear from Brett, especially on the MegaETH side, is Tom Lee and Bitminer, like the 1 cent dividend paid per share. I don't know if this is gonna be a game changer at all to have this dividend going.
So
I need a little more info on that.
Yeah, well, we need more. Let me try. I'll try and spin up some info on that. Quickly coming to your first point first. Liminal, we've always said we like it a lot, but I found, and maybe this is some user error on my part. I don't think so though. Like when I parked a significant amount in there, the number that it would quote for the amount that you'd be earning didn't feel like it was tracking perfectly with the amount that I was earning. And so over time, as it became less clear what their kind of future plans were for tokenization, and as it felt like the yield wasn't necessarily coming through in the way that I'd expected it. And I checked this with multiple people. There's loads of people in our chat who are in Liminal, and a few people corroborated for me, like doesn't feel right somehow. So like there was that going on. And then in general, as part of this risking off process that I've been through in the last few weeks and months, I've wanted to decrease the kind of more riskier things that I'm doing. So you're talking about potentially being able to borrow against your delta neutral wrapped positions. I've even stopped borrowing against all of my Bitcoin, for example. Like that's just all gone now. I'm like not doing those things which I used to do as just part of a process of taking risk off. So, you know, that's just my perspective. I definitely appreciate it's an interesting thing. That's cool. And if I had it, I'd probably experiment with it. But I'm just like in a period where I'm trying to experiment a touch less. Your thought on that ledge before I try and find this thing for Tom Lee, and then want to go to bread as well.
I agree. As I said, I was more excited about that in a more bullish market environment, and also Trafi in the YouTube comments confirmed the API reporting was wrong. Just to give some more info on that Bitmine news, they have sent out a press release reporting the full year fiscal net income of 328 mil, fully diluted EPS earnings per share of $13.39. And then they have declared this 1 cent annual dividend per Bitmine a share. And what they're basically saying is that Bitmine is the first large cap crypto company to declare an annual dividend. This reflects the company's commitment to create shareholder value. So feels like a bit of PR and marketing to have that 1 cent dividend going. I don't think it's overly impactful, and it's not something where I would be considering to hold the share instead of selling it if I get my 1 cent dividend.
To be fair, sorry, go on, Brad. Was that Brad trying to come in? No.
No, I was wanting to see where Bitmine is trading at in the meantime.
Yeah, while you do that, Ledge, you know, they have a ton of profit, right? So according to Crypto Briefing, Tom Lee's Bitmine reports $228 million in profit. Yeah. And I guess this profit comes from staking. Is that right? I'm trying to have a look here. That's how some of these Ethereum dApps are making their money, right? Otherwise, they're just
either that or in DeFi.
Yeah, so they chuck it in DeFi and they make their money, right? So I'm assuming it looks like none of these articles are specifically saying where the money is coming from to issue this, but they've reported that profit, and I'm almost certain that that's where it's coming from. So, Brad, some thoughts from you there as it relates to either maybe risking off a little bit, tokenized positions, Tom Lee's Bitmine position, and Ethereum, the state of Ethereum at the moment, before we maybe go into your mega stuff.
Yeah, I mean, on Bitmine, I don't have a huge comment other than I kind of agree with Legendary. It's not appealing to me to do like if you're purchasing these assets, or like these stocks, it's because you're looking for the disproportionate earning of like a volatile asset, which is crypto, right? Like, so if you're looking for 20, 30, 50, 100, 200% gains, like why do you give a shit about a 5%, whatever? I don't even know what this APY would be on this, but I imagine it's disproportionately low relative to like the growth you would expect from the thing. So it seems kind of silly. I'm a little upset he didn't lean into the crypto buyback meta and instead just like continuously use all that to buy back shares. And like, so then like we have like a Ouroboros of buybacks throughout the ecosystem. Crypto is now loving it. Now do it on the stock that is buying cryptos and lean into it that way. But that's my general sense of it. Marketing, not effective.
0.04% dividend that you're receiving. You're not buying that to get a 0.04% dividend, as you say.
Unreal.
And actually, you're touching on something which is the conversation we've been articulating on the show last week, Brad, and which I think it might have been Mav in the Telegram this morning when talking about Bitcoin and crypto and what these things represent. Gosh, there's good chat this morning. Pretty intelligent chat going on in the Telegram today, but it was extensive, so I can't find the comment here. But when you're talking about these assets and the reason for purchase, like what's the reason for purchase? Is it, you know, your 5% a year, or is it some belief in the ecosystem, belief in a new form of money, or is it outperformance? And I think one of the things we've been articulating recently is, look, and maybe this is I'm very conscious, it's much easier to articulate this as the market's gone down, right? Versus then when it's going up, because you have specific narratives when the market goes up and specific narratives when it goes down. But I guess one of the queries at the moment is, does Bitcoin really represent digital gold? Does it represent outperformance? And as it becomes more mature, maybe the volatility goes down, and it really has not performed like digital gold at all. And it's certainly not outperforming AI in some of the more risky parts of the market. So does that bid, which you just spoke about in relation to Ethereum, the bid which is seeking outsized return, does that proportion of the bid disappear? Maybe there is a proportion of the bid that believes in it as digital gold and that only, but does the other proportion of the bid disappear? Whether that's Bitcoin, whether that's for ETH, whether that's for any of these other tokens. So that's something we've been articulating. Brad, maybe a thought there before we get on to Mega.
Yeah, no, you covered it. I mean, stuff's cyclical. So, if the market doesn't feel like the bid is there, or like the outsized returns there, then of course that bid's going to go away, right? Like you need that at some point to correct back upwards and feel like the momentum is to the upside. If it's not to the upside, then the bid for that is not going to be there.
Okay, fair enough. Right, I'm pretty sure before we get into the main headlines, Brad, would love to double click on the MegaETH I don't want to get the name right. The MegaETH pre-deposit USDm
Bridge.
on Mega Mainnet bridge. So what are we looking at here? What are we thinking about? I know you've got some more details dropping, I believe, today in advance of tomorrow when it goes live. But what are we able to say now? What are you able to share?
Yeah, I mean, so we announced it. So you have the name right, MegaETH pre-deposit bridge. We announced it last week because we knew that money was going to be going back into the hands of people who participated in the pre-sale and were getting stables back. And we wanted to showcase to them, hey, there is another opportunity coming that you can use these stables for. That's what this is. So this specifically is opening tomorrow, and it will be an opportunity for you to take your stables and deposit it into what will eventually be the USDm representation on Mega. So you deposit USDC on Ethereum mainnet. Once the Frontier goes live, Frontier is our vernacular for like a developer focused mainnet. It'll be totally public. Anyone can play. Anyone can do whatever they want. Builders, users, whatever. But our intention is to set expectations that it is not going to be a day one party. It's going to be like people will party. People will launch meme coins and do NFTs, and people will do all the things that people do. But our intention is to continue to spin up the ecosystem and focus on builders. So that's what that will start as. You guys will bridge in USDC on Ethereum. You'll get the USDM on Mega Mainnet. That is that Frontier, and that'll be in December. And then from there, you can do whatever you want with it. And it's a one-to-one representation. And for us, it's just a means to bootstrap the ecosystem and bootstrap our native stablecoin to make sure that we're building up that liquidity and we're getting that stuff present for DeFi and everything else. We want to make sure we avoid the outcome where there frankly is no TVL on the chain, and we want to try to speed run that. So trying to bootstrap all that stuff, get people in position, and slowly just like roll out what will eventually be our like full-blown user-focused campaign around mainnet.
Awesome. As I said, I was crunching some numbers here over the weekend, and I believe I was looking at one pie chart, and 2.5% of the token supply is reserved for participants in this mainnet campaign. Was I looking at that chart correctly, Brad? Is that the right number, or
Correct.
should we just wait for those details later?
Yeah, no, that's correct. We called it out initially. The reward campaign is what we're calling it, and people who deposit in this will get credit towards that reward campaign. So the basic structure that has been communicated is we have this. This will be the first thing, the first like actionable item that people can do that will earn credit towards what will be the rewards campaign. That kicks off once mainnet proper is ready to go, and then it will track for I think it's like 6 to 8 months, and throughout that period we will be distributing that 2.5% of Mega to people that participate in the ecosystem in non-gameable ways. So, things like fees, things like, LP positions, things that like, actually require effort. And through that, we'll allow people to earn Mega in the future.
Nice. Can I ask you a quick support question that also might be helpful for other people who want to participate in that?
Please.
So I think you said that this is for the wallets that have been eligible via Sonar. Not necessarily, you didn't have to have received an allocation, just be eligible for the sale per se via Sonar. Did you have to like deposit and try to participate in the sale, or is just the eligibility enough? And second question as a part of that, what if you have multiple wallets that were eligible via Sonar? Can you use all of them, or just the one that then was used for the sale, if that is the condition?
So the nuance here is the reason we have to adhere to the Sonar registration is because of how the actual process of obtaining the tokens is going to take place. And that is Athena is the ones that are minting this token and turning it over to this person. And to go through that process, Athena has to adhere to a know your customer role. So like that's why we're like, oh, okay, they have to do that. Instead of like going through a net new process of having people register, doing KYC, we said, okay, it's close enough to our public sale. Let's just leverage what Sonar has already done with KYC and use that information to then allow Athena to do what it needs to do. So that's why you have some weirdness of, we did USDT in one thing, which was, Echo and Sonar's decision. And then now we have USDC, which is Athena's decision. So two parties that are kind of trying to leverage each other's stuff to actually enable this. So that is just to say that if you did KYC at all in the public sale process, whether you bid or not, that is now the data set that was made available to Athena. Athena has additional restrictions based on who they can actually turn that over to, which is why you saw stuff like the United States is excluded. It's unfortunate, but that is a decision for Athena and the entities that are actually minting and transferring this token to people. That's just what they had to adhere to, is where they're based on like what their actual business structure is. And that's what will allow you to participate. Some additional information. So this goes live tomorrow, 9 a.m. Eastern. This is the information we're going to be tweeting in about an hour. It goes live 9 a.m. Eastern. That's when the actual bridge itself, the contract is enabled, that deposits are eligible. Prior to that, about an hour, we will turn on the website, our website, which allows you to come in, do the Sonar setup, get all in place. And then the contract itself will just like, it's in the contract. It'll flip over at 9 a.m. And then that's what allows people to deposit. So there's a little bit of a pre-process to getting set up on this site, and all that will take place, tomorrow.
Good stuff. I'm excited. Gas war time. I like
Maybe.
bring the gas wars back. I don't mind it. Bring it on. Okay, so good amount of information for today. I think that administrative stuff super helpful for people who might still be a little bit confused. As you said, dropping more information in writing a little bit later. So if you are still curious, have more questions or more thoughts, follow the MegaETH account, and I'm sure you'll get what you need in just a little bit. So thanks for sharing that with us a little bit early, Brett. Like that bit of extra info that we get on the show. And we'll look forward to the rest a little bit later. Right, let's get into the main headlines for today now. Starting with just the main recovery from Bitcoin, although, still low compared to where we've been. It has bounced from 81K. Legendary, what are we looking at here as part of this recovery? You mentioned earlier that you're not really trusting the bounce. What are you looking at that makes you think that? Why are you thinking that? And what's your thinking moving forward?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's look at some data points and then answer that question as well. So starting with the total Bitcoin spot ETF net inflows, Friday was a good day. Friday, we finally did see some significant inflows again to the tune of 238.4 million. That is after the horrendous stats from Thursday, where we saw 900 mils in outflows. Quickly getting an update on the rest of the market, equities and gold, and then I'm going to dive into the question why I'm not really confident with this recovery at the moment. So taking a look at the CNN pre-market, we do see that everything is up on the pre-markets coming out of the weekend. Obviously, that is with less volume than the actual market, so do take that with a grain of salt. But NASDAQ is up 50 bips, S&P 500 futures up 37 bips, and Dow is basically flat. Market is still driven by extreme fear. That holds true for both indicators. On the CNN indicator, as well as the Fear and Greed Index on CoinMarketCap, and also checking in with the gold price. Here, gold is trading at $4,073. Ignore this here. This is a bit off. Gold is up 1.6% over the last 30 days, up 0.1% today. So holding up pretty well as well. But now to the main question, which is to do with that strength of this recovery and how reliable it is. I think if we look at this poly market that now is 153, almost 154 millions in volume, which is to do with the Fed decision in December. And this is just, mind you, this is just the chart for the last week. So last week alone, we have
completely flipped.
1, 2, 3 flippenings, basically, where the market went back and forth to determine whether it's more likely to see a rate cut or whether it's more likely to not see a rate cut. And we went to some extremes. So we were like in a 50-50, then in a 55-45 situation. Then this gap widened all the way to 76%, no change, 22%, 25 bips decrease. Then we flipped again. And now the gap is widening the other direction. Now we had a 70% chance to see a 25 bips decrease, whereas no change is at 28%. And also like the 50 bips decrease is now trading at 2%. So because this has been so volatile, and this is not only on Polymarket, this has been on the other websites as well, which are tracking these odds, not only prediction markets. That has induced a lot of extra uncertainty and volatility in the market. And if these odds are moving again for whatever reason this week, and the market is very receptive to find reasons to adjust these odds on the go, I think we'll see additional volatility. And that is, for me, the main reason why I just don't trust this quick recovery, especially on the weekend where there is a little less liquidity. And I know crypto obviously is 24/7, but still TradFi is not on the weekend. So I just don't trust this recovery for the time being.
Looking at previous markets for this, like flip back through the previous ones and see if they're as volatile. Like I'm curious to see if this one is just particularly okay.
Yeah,
There's a few flips in there.
Yeah, but this has been over the period of multiple months. So basically, as you got closer, this is the market for those who are not watching us on screen for the Fed decision in October, which ended on October 29th. And basically, the last flippening there happened on September 5th. And then the odds for a decrease, a 25 pips rate cut, have been gradually increasing to, well, obviously 100% because it then happened. So yes,
about a full month.
Yes. So even more than a month, because the last flippening was like on September 5th, and that market went all the way through the end of October. So like 1 month and 3 weeks of a very clear direction, no flippening, just a widening gap and an increasing certainty that we're going to see a rate cut. So I would argue a completely different picture than we're seeing with the December rate cut coming up.
It's very interesting. Two thoughts coming from, again, some very intelligent conversation in our chat this morning. One thought on fear and greed, and then I want to come to this rate cut stuff. Sorry, not fear and greed. Yeah, the fear and greed index. It feels like the only way for fear to go away is this a strange situation? I feel like we'd get more fearful if the price goes up here. Is that fair in any way? Like, I think people are scared because the prices are so high, not because the prices are so low. Like Nvidia, after they beat their earnings, pumped very, very briefly, like 3 or 4% or something, and gave it up straight away. There was some other, and it feels like unless the air gets taken out of the market, people won't be able to reset. But then obviously as the price goes down, people would typically usually get more fearful. So I don't know if this is me reading it wrong, but I almost feel like the market needs to go down in order for the fear to subside. Although whilst I say that out loud, like I know it doesn't entirely make sense. The point is, or, I guess the best way for the fear to subside is for the continuous rises to be sustained, but that's not happening. So when Nvidia smashed its earnings, it went higher and then immediately sold off. And so this is the concern for me still ongoing. It's why I'm maybe in a similar boat to you, Legendary, not entirely trusting this positive action. And it feels like to me, crypto is entirely watching Nvidia, and is tethered to that AI market, where if they go down, we're just going to go down harder, and if they go up, we might not go up. And then B, take Nvidia out of it for a second, it feels like we're all just gone back. Because remember a few months ago, we were like glued to the interest rate decision, and then there was a period of time where we kind of knew that they were going to cut. And when we knew they were going to cut, things became a bit more positive, a bit more steady. And now there's just this increased uncertainty again. And I feel like it's just a coin flip, basically. And the thing that I'd be watching for when they come to try to make this decision is, I think we would pump on a yes if, you know, it still seems as much of a coin flip as it does now. Even look, even though it says right now that it's much more likely people are betting on there to be a cut. You know, you've seen so many flips recently. I don't think that's for sure. I'd say it's a coin flip at the moment, which is why I'd probably take the other side of that bet, like right now after the show, personally. So what's my point? My point is that I think it's just a coin flip on the rate cut. And then if after NVIDIA earnings don't, just the gains were given up, and then if the rate cut gains were given up in the scenario that they kind of push higher, and then you give those up as well, then I'm like even more concerned. But this will take a few more weeks to play out. What are your thoughts, Ledge, in response to that? Then want to come around to Brad to hear his thoughts as well.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think the last rate cut was pretty much priced in, and NVIDIA earnings call did show that this rate cut was absolutely not priced in, because we did see NVIDIA doing pretty well straight after the earnings call, which they have smashed, both in terms of the numbers, but also like in defending against the potential bear cases. And then the whole market turned red again. So this will be an impactful rate cut unless we get some stellar clarity in the last weeks leading up to it. And it's going to be impactful in both ways. Now, for this specific flippening, which had happened on Friday, what has changed, because I realized I did not mention that, is that the New York Fed president and FOMC vice chair John Williams did give a speech where he said, and I'm going to quote from that speech, "My assessment is that the downside risks to employment have increased as the labor market has cooled, while the upside risks to inflation have lessened somewhat. Therefore, I still see room for further adjustment in the near term to the target range for the federal funds rate to move the stance of policy closer to the range of neutral." So this is what has inspired that confidence, or that higher confidence, that we're going to see a rate cut.
Do you know what, though? I just feel like betting on the market based on the words of these people, and just like the market just like slowly edging up because you think another cut is coming, is a lame way for the market to move up. Like, I just think it gets weaker and weaker in the same way. Like every time this happens, maybe at the beginning when you knew we were going into an easing cycle, that was like a great big lift. Like, yes, we're going into an easing cycle. All of these things can get sent higher. And then every incremental, like, okay, we're going to cut another 0.25 or whatever. I feel like some of the juice gets lost in it. So, yeah, I mean, conscious, shout out to Jeff in the chat. Disclosure, I am currently short the market, so like that should be articulated, I guess. But you know, everyone knows that I am already, I think, if you've been listening a lot. But sincerely, like that's what we've been trying to figure it out, right? Like trying to weigh. So someone in the chat also shared an interesting idea that, you know, maybe we bounce to 98, maybe we bounce back as high as 110. I'm open to all of these ideas, but when I ask the specific question, like, okay, well, what are the catalysts? Can we articulate what the catalysts are? Like, what needs to happen for us to go back there? Or is it just a reversion? Like, okay, we sold off too hard and therefore we need to go back up there. And I feel like even in the group chat, like talking about it, it was harder to articulate why we would go higher than it was to consider why we either stay or kind of chop around or go lower. So again, we don't know anything for sure, but just articulating it out, it felt like there were more reasons on the more downside. But you know, we can always be wrong for sure. Brad, coming to you here for some of your thoughts, whether it's to do with rates and like the dependency on that again, or anything else when it comes to this general discussion on the market.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I'm so deep in like the build MegaETH stuff right now that I'm even losing visibility into the crypto market, let alone the macro market. So for me, I see all this stuff and I'm actually getting informed by you two and having the discussion. So I don't think I can contribute anything.
Okay, fair enough. Maybe my final thought there then is I kind of like that. What's that blue line bet, Ledge? The one that's at 20% now. Then no change.
This one, the light blue, is no change. Yeah,
I kind of like that right now. How are they supposed to change when the government won't release the data? Like, has anyone answered that question? Trump, they always say they want to look at the data, and the government won't give it to it, or have been either withholding it, delaying it, not giving it. How are they going to make a change if they don't get given the data? And you're telling me that's going to be the 20% option? I don't know. Let's see. That's my instinctive thoughts. Anyway, unless you got anything else there, we can keep it moving.
Just one point to note from the YouTube comments, got a bit of breaking news, which is to do with Kinetic. They now have announced their TGE date, and Kinetic Foundation posted a couple minutes ago that the Kinetic TGE will occur on November 27th at 12 p.m. UTC.
That is good. That is in a few days' time. So big week this week. Then we've got Monad TGE today. We have MegaETH pre-deposit campaign tomorrow, and then we've got Kinetic in 1, 2, 3 days' time.
Yep. Shout out to Trafi and Just Stefano for pointing that out and
Thanks,
allowing
guys.
us to share the breaking news.
Legends. That's good. Hopefully that can be a nice little liquidity event also. Okay, let's keep it moving. We've done the first headline today. The second headline today is all about Monad. Monad has, of course, raised $269 million in this sale at 2.5 billion FDV. The token generation event will be today. The image on the screen, which Legendary is sharing, just goes through some of the headline details for the new L1. 85.8 thousand participants from 70 plus countries in the first token sale, which obviously Coinbase facilitated for the MON token. $269 million was committed. It was 1.43x oversubscribed. 99% will receive their full request. Obviously, this is slightly more doable than, for example, if you directly contrast it with Mega, where lots of people didn't get close to what they want because of the dynamics. Here, they're raising a hell of a lot more money than Mega did in comparison. So I think that's worth noting. So some nice visuals shared by Coinbase here. Getting into some of the other details, the founder had this to share. Said the MON token sale has concluded. The sale more than sold out with a dramatic surge of activity at the end, as many had predicted. The most important statistic to me is 85,000 participants. That's what they wanted to optimize for. A number of these folks are crypto insiders, but many are newbies. This is incredibly exciting to all participants. Congratulations and welcome on board. So clearly going for a slightly different distribution model here, trying to prioritize a huge number of participants rather than fewer. And then they also had this to share, talking of, maybe what to do. So this goes live in a couple of hours. And this is what they had to say. Keon shared 10 hours ago the guides to how to get started on Monad mainnet. You've got a guide to DeFi. You've got a guide to on-chain trading. And you've got a guide to consumer apps. And I watched a short video from, I believe it was the intern account, or maybe it was a different account a little bit earlier today. Is you can navigate to all of it just on the main Monad website. I say main Monad, it's not like monad.xyz. It's the specific one that they will direct you to. But there's some tabs in the website where you can say like trading, and you've got your 4 dexes, and you've got like apps, and you can look at your apps, and there's a section called rewards, and you can look at the different things that are being incentivized. They have a program at the moment, the name of which I cannot remember, although we have reported on it before, where I think there are 2 specific, and again, there could be more here, but it might be getting it wrong, but there's at least 2 types of things they're incentivizing. There's certain app usage, which there's some kind of incentives, and DeFi specifically. So I would definitely check that out.
Momentum.
Say again?
I think it's Momentum.
Momentum. That's the one. Yes, the Momentum program. So I would definitely check that out. That's what I'm going to do before it goes live, to see if there's a few more details on Momentum. Unless, Ledge, you were able to pull something up right here, right now, to see if we can get any more details there. But I'm kind of looking forward to this. I know we naturally go in the Mega direction, in part because we know bread, and in part because I think even intellectually I'd been interested in Mega before, but I'm very open to going around and exploring on Monad and seeing what they've built out. They've raised a ton of money. So I'm kind of intrigued to see how all of this stuff kind of fits together, what kind of the manner in which they go to market. So I'm very, very much open to that. Ledge, coming to you first before we go to Brad. What are your thoughts on the details here, the TGE, the sellout, 2.5 bill FTV when it looks like pre-markets are trading, I believe, at 3 bill. So not a huge premium here. Where are we at now?
3.6. I got a bit of a critical take. So
okay.
you did the Coinbase, not you, but there was the Coinbase sale. And as part of the Coinbase sale, we also said that Coinbase said if you're selling your tokens within the first 30 days, you might receive a punishment, you might receive less allocation for future sales. But at the same time, then the question arises, what happens, and Whale asked that, if you receive your allocation and you just want to withdraw, so you just want to transfer maybe your funds and use them on Monad, does that count as selling or not? So he did ask the question, and currently from what I can see, there was a answer by Coinbase support, which was absolutely not helpful at all because it was just AI slop. And Kobe did step in again as Sear tagged him in a quote repost. He's going to find out what he didn't work on the sale or feature. He'll ask to find out what happens if you transfer your coins out of Coinbase, which is a super relevant question because the founder was Keon was like super excited about having new people joining. So there should, and they have all these apps and incentivized usage for that. So there should be some clarity whether you can transfer your funds out, put that Monad to work, put your funds to work, or whether you should not do that in the first 30 days. So it's either misalignment of incentive or not really optimum communication on that aspect.
You know what's misalignment of incentives? The guy who is not incentivized to doing this, going to answer all the questions about it, and the people who just raised $269 million not answering the question. Like, guys, stop getting Kobe to answer your questions.
So crazy how simple, like it literally is just like get someone to be a human. Like just
someone
like,
answer the question. The biggest person in the NFT world has just asked a question pertaining to your sale. Like someone answer it.
Your sale of $270 million for man, that's just insane.
Yeah, just please answer the question. It's an important question for the people who participated. Okay, so there is that. And I guess maybe Brad, coming to you here, maybe one of the, I don't know if you want to make it about Mega, you can comment on it alone, but one of the notable aspects of this, right, is the material amount that's not just different to Mega, to be fair. Like, this is just a colossal raise because it's not often that an ICO will take place at such a huge valuation. And the reason why it's such a huge valuation, the previous VC round, I think, was at 3 bill. You can't undercut the VCs by so much, right? Realistically. So any thoughts in that direction? Any thoughts in playing around with the ecosystem or the TGE itself, valuations? What do you think?
Yeah, actually, I empathize with their position because they wanted to do this after ICOs became cool again, right? So because they did it late in the game after having to do a bunch of raises and having to give away a certain percentage of the supply, like it kind of prices itself. So it's not like they came and said like, oh, we absolutely need $270 million. It's like, bro, if we're selling this thing this far along in our progress or in our progress of our thing, you see a pre-market of how much we're worth. You saw our previous raise. It's just like, this is how much it basically has to be priced. Yeah. So like I empathize with that. Whether it's like net the better decision to do all this stuff, TBD. Yeah. And as you saw with the 99% full request allocation stuff, that's just a byproduct of the subscription amount, right? We were 28% or 28x oversubscribed, which means we had 28 times the people that would get zero for every one person that got what they wanted. So it's just, a byproduct of that. But I think ultimately it was like objectively successful, right? They did what they wanted. We'll see how it works. The thing that I am curious of is when people will actually receive their tokens, because as you guys know, there's a typical airdrop day one chart that takes place with a lot of these ecosystems. And if you are someone who purchased or participated in this, thinking you would arb the pre-market price and hoping you get your tokens at or near day one and not caring about the 30-day thing and wanting to sell, but you don't get your tokens until a week after, 2 weeks after, whatever, and potentially price action is not beneficial to you, you might not get your tokens until things are looking south because of the airdrop sellers. That's just a byproduct of everything else going on here.
I think from what I've seen is that the Coinbase participants did get the tokens and the airdroppers. That was said in one of the guides or one of the videos that they did, is that as a part of being on the website where you can bridge and do all the things which BJ has mentioned, that also has the airdrop section. And from what it sounded like, I think you would be able to then also claim that immediately, but don't quote me on that. This is just my understanding from like watching this quick video and not doing too much research, because I only have a relatively small airdrop, I think a couple grand or so, nothing significant.
I think that's right. I think everyone's liquid today. Although, yes, always double check. I'll be looking for some of the further information in a bit too. So let's keep an eye on that. I think we've covered it in general. Maybe a final thought.
No, you do your final thought, and then I have one more thing.
No, you go first, because I was going to do something else.
Okay, I was just going to speak to, like, I too am excited for this. I want to participate, and I will say, as someone who is currently working to try to put together all of the materials and coordinate the entities and like just everything. Yes, Monad has a lot of money. Yes, Monad has a big team, but that does not guarantee that it gets packaged together thoughtfully or well. And I think looking at all those, the DeFi guides, the trading guides, whatever, they have assembled a lot of the, I would say, premium partners for basically everything, whether it's, MagicETH or FOMO or OpenSea or Phantom or whatever. That's all downstream, can be downstream of the amount of money that you have, which is also why we did our raise, because going through this, you just realize to get these people to prioritize you, frankly, more often than not, you have to give them money. Now, I'm not saying that they did that for every one of their partners, but it helps to be able to just have the money to say, okay, we like them, we want them, and then doing it that way.
Yeah, fair enough. It's a good point. It's a good point. And as you said, these guides, I think, are a nice way to provide that information and get people oriented with your new ecosystem. So definitely appreciate it from that perspective. Ledge, as you said, final thought on the price before we hit our partner segment. Trading at 3.5 bill FTV. Any intuition here? Sell off into airdrop, go higher? What do you think?
Yeah, probably some sell-off. I think there's also probably some truth to that theory, to that tinfoil theory, that Coinbase does not necessarily want to see their first ICO product fail immediately. Yet market is not good. Market did crash. Monad didn't have the easiest of markets to do that. So probably some people will be more likely to immediately take profits. If I were able to participate in that, I probably would have also sold and just see and wait what the rest of the market would do. So not an easy market environment. Wouldn't be surprised to see an immediate sell-off of the airdrop happening and then some sort of recovery.
Yeah, that would be my instinct as well. That would be my instinct on this one at a minimum. But okay, we'll see. We'll report on it tomorrow as usual. Before we get to the final piece, because we've got a little interesting bit on Hyperliquid still to do, let's get to our Tria segment. We mentioned just at the top of the show, partner with Tria today, and they've got this interesting Tria treasure piece of news we want to share. Ledge, what do we need to know here? It sounds interesting.
Yeah, just a couple more info on Tria before I get to the Tria treasure. Tria is a self-custodial neobank that allows you to spend in over 150 countries using more than 1,000 tokens on your Tria Visa card, while earning up to 6% cash back every time you spend. Behind the scenes, Tria runs its own tech called BestPath, which is a permissionless Pathfinder marketplace where micro markets compete to move your money faster, cheaper, and more securely across chains. At the moment, as you said, Tria is running the Tria Treasure campaign, where one purchase done with the Tria card will be fully reimbursed every day. All you have to do to participate is to make a purchase with the Tria Neobank, share a picture of what you bought or post the receipt, tag @useTria on X, and include the hashtag Tria Treasure. Did participate myself today. Bought some luxury perfume as a Thanksgiving gift to myself. So maybe I get lucky and get that reimbursed. If you haven't signed up for Tria yet, I'll post our partner link in the comments. This campaign is running until December 15th. So if you want to participate in that Tria Treasure campaign, you have more than enough time to do so.
That is pretty cool. So if you want to participate, you can sign up with the partner link in the comments. And just to be clear, Ledge, so you do your post and you get randomly selected each day. Someone gets selected who's posted each day with whatever item that they've bought, right?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I can quickly go to my profile as well. There you go. This is the video which we're playing right now. This is my post on it. Tag Tria, have the hashtag in there, have in this case the purchase because it did not arrive yet, and that's all you need to do.
Pretty cool. Pretty cool. $37 cashback on a 530 euro purchase. That's pretty good. Pretty good stuff.
It's not bad at all.
Okay. Well, shout out to Tria for partnering with us as usual. We'll be continuing to be partnering with them into next month as well. And try your luck with Tria Treasure. Maybe you'll get reimbursed for one of your treasures as you get into Christmas season. Right. Final headline then, before we close out for today, we do want to know a little bit about Hyperliquid here, Brad. Hyperliquid growth mode has been enabled for Trade XYZ, the platform which is prioritizing, or not prioritizing, it is solely focused on equity perps. What do we need to know here? What is Hyperliquid growth mode? Why is Hyperliquid down so much at the moment? What are you thinking? What do we need to know?
I wish I had an answer for the why is Hyperliquid down. I can't answer that, but we can talk about Trade XYZ's growth modes. You already summarized what they actually are. Again, it's led by the unit team, and it's based on equity perps. So they have a few markets that are basically just like broad market indices, but they also plan to do individual stocks. And but the growth mode specifically is restricted to HIP-3 deployers, which is how this protocol specifically is getting these assets listed on Hyperliquid. And what it means is rebates, volume contributions, and all-in fees get reduced by greater than 90%. And it's a means to bootstrap adoption. So they're just reducing fees specifically on their markets, their tickers, to try to allow people to use it more. But again, you can't do it. I saw some people tweeting that you could be trying to farm this thing, and volume contributions are reduced by that same 90% that come with the fees. So it's proportional to the actual fee reduction. And then one other thing that's worth noting is that this is on a per ticker basis, and you can't do it on tickers that are already listed in another means. So an example would be I couldn't go do a HIP-3 deployment of gold, for instance, because PAX-G is already there, or I can't do crypto assets because the crypto assets are already there for everyone else. So you couldn't have one market deployed by me with growth mode on for Bitcoin that has 90% fee reduction, because that would pull away from the other market that exists.
Got it.
So that's just like a TLDR of what growth mode is, and Trade XYZ specifically will have it enabled for their stocks or their equities.
Interesting, Brad. As you've maybe taken a quick pause on Brad Guy Trader Arc, to what extent are you or will you be interested in equity perps? And even if you're not going to be able to practically in the near term because of your own launch, do you see it as super significant? We spoke about this team going live with a similar competitive product on Mega as well. Do you see that the direction we're going in the space?
Like that equity perps or fee reduction?
Yeah, equity perps.
Equity perps for sure. But I don't think it's going to be it's for crypto native users. I think of myself, and does this appeal to me? Not really, because all of my time and domain expertise is on crypto assets. So that is where my energy is going to be focused. But now if I'm a traditional trader and I can get 24/7 access to these markets, then yes, it becomes appealing. And I think that is what these equity perps platforms are aiming to do. They're not trying to convert crypto traders into equity traders, although there probably is some overlap there. They're trying to pull the equity traders from TradFi into crypto. And yeah, that's just not for me right now.
Got it. Yes. Okay, fair enough. Thanks for that summary. Ledge, maybe a final point from you on Hyperliquid price. I know you've been monitoring it probably a little bit more then, and wonder if you had a view here. I touched on a few reasons why I thought there's been a bit of uncertainty here and why I thought there'd continue to be a bit of uncertainty. What are your thoughts on Hyperliquid down to 31 here?
So two things. I think it's a bit of this uncertainty with what is the team doing? Are they selling their unlocks? Aren't they selling? That has been a bit of a discussion on the timeline. And there is a bit of an obscene hope that I'm having, which is to see the market crash a bit further this week, feed into that Hyperliquid anxiety, and have Hyperliquid drop towards like $25-ish, which I don't think is going to play out, but I'm hoping a bit for that, because like this $20 to $25-ish range would be one where I would love to buy some more hype. I did sell almost my entire hype position on the way down, and the last bit of it in the low 40s. So I would like to buy back, and I hope to see a bear case play out that allows me to get an even bigger discount.
I think so I don't disagree with that. I think one of the things that should be on people's minds is, again, thinking through probabilities. Maybe we just go up from here. We're at 87 now, 86, and we just can break through 88 and we can hit 92, 94, 98, whatever, and we go up. And in that scenario, everything's great. Hyperliquid probably goes higher, and then, you know, your bags are higher and you're happy, probably. However, you want to at least have run through the alternative scenario where, okay, we push back up to 87 here, or 88. We're breaking back down. We continue to go down in, you know, there's no cut in December. Just play that through in your mind for a second. What happens to the assets that you like? Even if it's a good asset, it can go down in price. And I think what you want to do now, whether it's Hyperliquid as Legendary just described, or whether you just want to make a list of equities, whether it's a list of crypto assets, you want to know that in the scenario, for example, that there is no cut in December, and whenever that gets articulated, if that happens, you're just getting prepared. What other things that you would like to purchase in a further down move? And I would feel far more, I would feel quite comfortable in the next down move to purchase, to start the buying. If, you know, I don't know how much it would go down in that specific move, but at least maybe then, you know, even though you're already down a lot from the highs, that final leg down, I think, would be closer to somewhere where you might start to see a bounce, if that scenario plays out, of course. So we're thinking through this stuff probabilistically. I hope that makes sense. But guys, conscious of time here, hope you enjoyed the show. We ran a little bit over today, but just a reminder, we do this every single day, Monday to Friday, 7 a.m. Eastern time, live on X video, YouTube, and you can catch us on Apple and Spotify video as well. Thank you to my co-hosts, Legendary and Bread. Thank you so much for joining us as always. We'll be back same time, same place tomorrow. Shout out to Tria, our partner for today. Have a good one. We'll catch you on the other side. Bye-bye.